Here we are again, your plant-based besties, Rena and Courtney, and we're super excited with our special guest, MiRanda Swartz. So we got her in the waiting room. We're going to bring her in just a moment, and yeah, she's going to talk to us about all the things. I'm not even going to go over that. I'm going to let her do it. All right. There's a few people on. I'm going to bring MiRanda on. Okay. There we are. Hey, MiRanda, welcome to our Facebook Live inside Plant-Based Best Life. We're so glad you're here.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! All right. Well, I'm giving a little bit of time for people to jump on, but while we're doing that, let's get right into it. Talk to us. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney. I'm going to turn it over to Courtney to chat with you at first.
Well, instead of going over your bio, I'm just going to ask questions and kind of let you do it because that way we won't be redundant about it as well. Okay. So let's just get started. Well, first of all, Rena introduced me to you and I just love your channel. I love how practical it is. And it's just, it looks more like my real life, you know, so I love that about you. The first question is, tell us about your journey into a whole food, plant-based lifestyle and low calorie density eating.
So I have been someone who has been on the diet train since I was like 17 years old. And I know that's so relatable with so many women. I mean, like 99% of women go on a diet at 17 or 18 years old and we try to figure it out. So on and off the diet train for years and years and years. I decided in January of 2019 that I was going to lose weight and never gain it back. And I was going to figure out some kind of lifestyle that would work for me. And I share with everyone, I actually joined Weight Watchers, which is like mind-boggling to me right now, but I joined Weight Watchers. And the reason I did is because they have that 0 point program where if you eat something that's 0 points, like you're not penalized for it. And after about 10 months, I was so tired of tracking my food and feeling like if I don't track my food, I'm going to gain weight again. And it just was like a mental struggle. So in February of 2020, I decided for Lent, I'm not tracking my food. I'm going to learn to do this on my own, whether, you know, it's a struggle or it's not. If I gain a little bit of weight, I don't care. I'm just tired of tracking my food. And like most people, I jumped on YouTube and was searching for words like food freedom, how to maintain your weight without tracking food. And that's where I came across everybody sharing everything with the vegan lifestyle. And I found everything from keto vegans, whole food, plant-based, you know, just so much information. And I kind of had to wade through the waters on my own. And it took me February, March, April, and May, took me 4 months to transition from completely vegan to whole food plant-based. I just went and I switched everything animal product that I had to vegan products. And then I slowly started removing like my vegan yogurt, my vegan butter. And I committed to 10 days whole food plant-based. And I was like, I wasn't sold on it yet. And I just committed to it for 10 days and I never went back because I felt so amazing. And I think when you have tried every diet under the sun and you have been an athlete your whole life and you know how you're supposed to feel, but you don't feel like that. And when you start feeling just absolutely amazing, there's no turning back. There's literally like, it took those 10 days to convince me that like I never want to eat any other way in my entire life. And I was noticing benefits with my endurance, my sleep, my skin, my hair, everything just kind of like came full encompassed and I just felt amazing. And so that was just it. Like it went from constantly dieting or feel like I was dieting to just feel like I actually had this food freedom that everybody talked about. It's been amazing. And I'm still so excited about it because it's so new to me, but that's my journey in a nutshell.
Awesome. I had Rena, don't kill me for going off plan a little. I'm curious, did you discover it as like a no oil or was it just because you discovered calorie density eating that you reduced your oil? Or because that is something that I feel like we struggle to explain a lot is the oil.
Yes.
I just was wondering your thoughts on that.
I found it through no oil first and then discovered what low calorie density meant. I didn't even use that phrase in my wheelhouse until like July of this year. I had no idea what they were meaning by that. But I actually found Mr. and Mrs. Vegan first and then Dr. McDougall, and was just like listening to podcast after podcast after podcast. I feel like I couldn't get enough of this information, and everything they would say would make sense. Like, if you're an endurance athlete, like try this, and I would try it and I would just feel amazing. Like, whoa, they're right. Like, I am sleeping better. My skin is getting better. My joints feel good. Like, all of that in a whole, it's almost like you don't believe it until you try it. But yes, I found like no oil first before low calorie density.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So tell us, of course, I know a lot of this because I watch you constantly, but I'm curious, what are some of your go-to meals that you want to share with the group?
I am simple, and I think this is why it works for me. And I've had a lot of friends who say, I could never eat like you do because I'd be so bored. If I could eat blueberries and oatmeal and air fried potatoes my entire life, I would be so happy. Like, so happy, because like, isn't life supposed to be simple? Aren't we supposed to spend energy doing things we like to do versus like these massive meals that take hours and we have dishes to do afterwards? Like, I just like simple, and everybody knows their go-to meals that are simple. But I feel like if I could just eat those for the rest of my life, I would be so happy.
Yeah, I had air fried potatoes on a bed of greens with mustard and ketchup for lunch. And that sounded so gross to me before I got to eat this way, but now I love it. It's just so weird. And I saw your thing on mashed potatoes. So the things I thought I would never eat. And I was like, wow, it's just crazy.
I hated potatoes. A year ago, I hated potatoes. But I think that you truly learn to like things because you learn that they're like, number one, they're really good for your body. But number two, when you're eating those things, your nutrition levels are so different than when you were like nutrition deficient. So like your body recognizes that and you start to crave those foods because your body wants them. So yeah, from not liking potatoes to saying that they're my go-to food is pretty amazing.
It is. Okay. How do you balance eating this way while working full-time and being a content creator?
I think the way I eat goes with how I create content, because literally all I'm doing is sharing what I'm doing. And because I am so simple, I feel like it actually works really well into my work life. I work a lot. And some people, when they hear how I work, I'm like, I mean, I could work 100 hours a week easily. And so for me, it's so doable because I can just take a thing of oats and some potatoes. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of thought that goes into my meals. So again, it just takes my energy output of, what I'm doing for myself every day, but I can pour more into my job. And it just makes it so easy. If we're out and about and I'm like, man, I'm really hungry. Well, I can run through the grocery store and the whole produce section. I can grab anything I want and, eat it while we're running errands. A go-to for me has been to the Wendy's drive-through for potatoes. If we're out and about and I need something to eat really quick, I can grab a potato, easy, but it goes hand in hand because I feel like everybody has to eat. You have to eat, like you have to eat to survive. But when you make your meal so simple, it makes it so easy. So whatever you're grabbing, there's not a lot of thought involved. It's just like, well, this is what I eat. This is how I eat. And it honestly, with how I work and how much I work, it makes it so stress-free. And I've been meal planning on weekends, so that way I can just, grab things and there's less stops along the way. But I think like planning and knowing what you're going to eat or knowing what your go-to stops are makes it so simple.
I would agree. Once I kind of got out of my own way with it and accepted how simple it could be and quit trying to overcomplicate it, it just it was so easy. Okay, I'm excited about this next question. We love your budget conscious grocery and meal videos. What are your top budget friendly hacks and how does this play into your lifestyle in general?
My top hacks that I have personally learned for myself is to figure out, number one, what your grocery budget is going to be and commit to it. If you are saying it's going to be $50 a week or $100 a week, don't go into the store and, buy all the sale items and spend $150. Stick to your actual budget. That's the easiest thing. Number 2 is before you go to the store with your budget, figure out what you want to eat for the week. And if you have a big household or it's just you and your husband, or if it's just you, figure out meal ideas or concepts or pantry staples that you can bring home from the grocery store so you don't get home and go, well, I didn't bring anything to make food, like to actually make meals. For most people, they make actual meals, and most people don't throw potatoes in the air fryer and call it a day, but think of actual meals that you want to enjoy. And I think overall, lifestyle wise, so we set out on a financial freedom journey September 20th of 2020. So it's been 3 months. We sat down and said, you know what, we have consumer debt. We want to get rid of it. You're not smartest in your 20s with your money. You're smarter later on in life when you wish you would have, figured it out. And we decided that our personal grocery budget is going to be $30 a week, which is not very much for 2 people. But I strategize in the fact that, like, if I go in with $30, I will find as much food volume wise that I can get: beans, rice, pasta, and I will figure out how to use those same items over and over and over and over again in different meals so we don't get tired of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that people forget is they think like, oh, I'm on a budget. This is miserable. I only get to eat pasta. And it's like, no, you can make so many things with pasta. You have to be able to get creative. And if you're not creative, then you can come onto YouTube and see that people are getting creative to give you ideas. So, but lifestyle wise, we're going to share this in our Q&A, but I think, Courtney, you would really like this because you shared with me that you're really big into finances. So by us cutting back, not just on groceries, but every avenue of our lives, as of today, we have paid off $13,000 in debt in 3 months. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Wow. That is like, I'm trying to stay muted so that I don't cause an echo, but that is a mic drop moment. I mean, that just puts it in perspective. And I know you're just speaking Courtney's language. So,
but the thing is people think, well, that's you. Like, I could never do that. I used to think that. I used to see these dramatic stories shared all over social media and think, well, that's them. They have it easier. They have it different. They have a different perspective. They have a different lifestyle than I do. Once you start, it becomes really addictive in a way where you're like, I'm doing this. I can do this. I accept the next challenge. Like, let's keep pushing. And so our goal is in 2021 is to become completely debt free. So that's our goal. And I know we're going to do it. It's just accepting that, like, this is what we're doing for right now. It might not be forever, but it's also really teaching us about, like, being actual true minimalist and enjoying the things that we have and enjoying the time we have together. And it's not just about, like, how much stuff we have or how beautiful our meals are, how much food we can, purchase in a week. It's so much more than that.
I love that so much. And I do believe you can do it. Rena and I were on the phone this morning. We have our morning chats most days of the week. And we were talking about, like, accepting accepting a new identity. Like, that you can be free of debt. You can have this lifestyle. You can be this. Like, I never thought I'd be 30 pounds lighter at 50 than I was at, 40. I mean, and it's just kind of taking on that new identity, and it's awesome. Rena, do you have anything you want to add before I go on?
No, I just echo all of that. Like, it along that line, it's really helpful to have a buddy. Courtney and I don't think we would have like made ourselves crazy if we hadn't had each other. And we tell that to people inside our group all the time. So that is one thing I like to remind people is, like, find someone that you can bounce things off of. And that goes for, financial fitness or, health, your own health and wellness, that it can really help. And we've said, and I think, MiRanda, I've even heard you reference this, that the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
And it really, that has been very profoundly true for.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree with that because we were kind of chatting beforehand. Your food, your fitness, your finances, they all go together. Like I shared with you guys, like, I feel like I've had fitness figured out since, I played sports in middle school and high school. I've always had fitness figured out. Food was sticky. It was difficult. And then the last step was just to figure out financial, because you want freedom in all aspects of your life. You want to be able to work out for your health, not for the burden of like, oh, I have to burn calories. And then that goes hand in hand with what you want for food freedom. You want freedom with your food, so you don't have to be stuck tracking it or feel like you're that person that's at, every meal and dinner and social event you go to saying no. And then financial freedom goes hand in hand. So that way you have complete freedom of, there's nothing negative energy tying you down. Like you're just free to enjoy your life and not overthink everything.
I will say, and then I'll let you guys get back to Courtney's questions, but I literally, if I could have taken the app where I was tracking stuff and like thrown it and smashed it, I never looked back. I was like, if I never have to do my macros again, it'll be like the best day ever. And I mean, yeah. I basically track mine by weighing and how my pants fit.
Yep.
But that was,
it is that mental. And I've read so many studies on this and I completely believe it, but I still couldn't like escape from it, is they would say like they make you addicted to tracking your food because they want you to feel like you have to do it. It's a crutch. So how does the diet industry make money? Because you're addicted to these tracking apps, and then you buy different food to fit those portions, and it's all just like this big scam, if you will, like, you know what I mean, to make you think that you're never good enough, that you have to track your food, you have to buy these certain foods, you have to do all these things, and it literally makes us crazy. But
if we can use it, Courtney and I've talked about using it strategically sometimes to see like, okay, we both are just like a few pounds from what we want our maintenance to be, and like just to make sure, like if we eat more fat than we've been eating, then kind of figuring that out, like using it about, oh, well, that day I did this, like that's one thing, like using it strategically. But yeah, of course they want you to keep using it, because if you lost all the weight you wanted to lose, you wouldn't need that app anymore, and their monthly fee would go away or whatever. I mean, I know anyway, yeah, that's so good. It's so liberating to not think calories, to not so good. All right, I'm gonna let Courtney have it back. I had to have a little rant on that.
No, I mean, I like that, because what you all were saying is like, I would find my self-esteem attached to if I waited till the end of the day to track and, was at dinner and I had gone over somewhere, my self-esteem would just plummet. And that is not healthy, because the truth is one day you may be up and the next day down, and it's more about what happens over a continuum, right?
Right.
So that was, letting go of that was huge. I do occasionally, full disclosure, I occasionally will do a day or two just if I think I'm off somewhere. So I don't want to sit here and act like I am.
No, and I think that's a really beautiful balance. Some people can do that, some people can't. I'm the type of person that as soon as I download an app, like I'm like, well, this is what I've chosen to do, and I have to, I'm very black and white. So I'm very like, well, I have to track my food now. And so for me to completely remove that, it just feels like I have the freedom to listen to my body and feel it out. And you know what? Some days I might only eat dinner because I've been so busy and like, brought meals with me and never had the chance to eat them. And I feel bad. Like I've had to get over that. I've had to stop feeling bad because I didn't eat enough for the day, because I'm like, well, you know what? It's okay. I'll make up for it tomorrow. Like my body's not going to, shrivel up and die while I'm sleeping, and I'm not going to turn into a raisin. But that mindset of not eating enough or eating too much came from so many years of tracking for me. So I've had to really like embrace the whole, like, listen to your body. It's okay. Like if you were so busy one day doing what you love, it's okay that you just had a massive dinner and you're going to bed with this massive bellyache. It's okay. Or if you just had a light dinner and like, you just eat a little bit more the next day to make up for it. Like we will survive, like you said, you could be up one day and down the next, but if you're listening to your body, like that's a big part of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So this next question feels a little weird after this conversation that we just had, but it's about plateaus. And I think we've all hit plateaus.
Yeah.
And so, one way that I will hit a plateau is examine what I'm eating. What did you do when you've hit a plateau in the past? What have you done when you've hit plateaus?
This is coming from the past. And I'll tell you my past compared to my current. So since I have been maintaining my weight loss, I have been maintaining a 40-pound loss, but I wanted to personally see, could I lose if I actually tried strategically to lose weight using the starch solution versus just maintaining my weight? Like, I have to become a believer in both. I have since December 1st been trying to lose weight, and I'm down almost 6 pounds. So technically, no, I haven't plateaued, but all I've been doing is adding a lot more veggies in and doing more of a 50-50 plate compared to like a 75-25 starches to greens. But prior in the past, all I would do is like restrict my food and eat less. And now it's like, it feels like, well, I'm eating less, but I'm also eating more. Like, I'm actually giving myself the abundance versus like, in the past, it's very different I feel like on a standard American diet, but you just keep decreasing your portions and eventually you're going to plateau so much that like, you're never going to come back from it. Whereas now I feel like I have the freedom to switch my starches around, because as you guys know, different starches carry different weights of carbohydrates, but also water. I can switch my veggies around. I can play with, maybe I want a meal that's just all greens and veggies, or maybe I want a meal that's fruit and veggies. And so you kind of strategically start placing your food differently to not only just satisfy yourself so you have a nice full belly, because that's what we're looking for. Even though we're dieting, we're looking for a nice full belly, but also to see, if you can take off a few pounds here or there. And I know for myself, I tend to have an easier time losing weight because I'm so active. I'm so active that sometimes my weight will go up 10 pounds, it'll go down 10 pounds. I'll lose 4 pounds really fast, but then I'll try to put it back on by eating, more. So I currently dip back and forth. But I have really tried to not restrict food or increase activity in weight loss, because I think that's a negative when it comes to hitting a plateau. And in the past, I used to believe that, well, if I hit a plateau, I'll just run more, work out more. But then that just puts you into a hole where now when you start eating more, you have to increase your activity again to constantly put yourself in a hole. So now I kind of believe that like the balance of life is you work out for health, not for weight loss. They can go hand in hand, and they do go hand in hand, and they should go hand in hand. But I don't ever want someone to be like, oh, I work out a lot because I see you work out a lot, and therefore like I'll lose a bunch of weight, because that's not, I don't think that's a healthy mindset either.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Rena, did you need to say anything? I saw you. Did you need to chime in for a sec?
In Miranda, I forgot to tell you, but I have two big screens over here, and I'm watching the Facebook comments. So that's why I keep looking to the side so I can interact with people over there as well. We do have a question, so it's probably a good time. I've asked her if she wants to come inside the Zoom to ask, but she hasn't responded, so I'm thinking she probably doesn't want to. It's Holly. She says, what about drinks? I love margaritas, but I always feel guilty.
Okay.
Either one of you want it, Miranda?
I mean, I can jump in. We went out for our Christmas dinner celebration last night, and one of the biggest things for me to find complete balance is because when you're excited about something, it's really easy to be like, I'm never going to eat anything besides potatoes, fruit, and greens for the rest of my life. But then life happens, and you're going to probably want chocolate cake, and you're probably going to want ice cream, and you're probably going to want to have a margarita or a soda with vodka or something. So for us personally, we find like once or twice a month to go out for a nice dinner, or I make desserts at home, or I have drinks. But I find that like the less and less that I have them, the less and less that I want them, because my body does really want nutritious foods. But if I had them every single night, I would probably want them every single night. And everybody finds their own balance with that. I don't think you have to cut out every single thing. I choose to be vegan, but if you are just following whole food plant-based for health and you still eat animal products, that's okay. But you have to find the balance of having it here or there versus all the time.
Yes, what you said, back to what you said, is that, well, for one thing, Holly is, Holly, I think, is a good friend of mine on there. My husband was so proud. He got me vegan, gluten-free cupcakes for my birthday last week. And they wouldn't allow you to buy one. He had to buy 6, and they were a fortune. And so I allowed myself to have one per day for 3 days. And that is a big stretch for me because I don't eat sweets or anything. And I did used to enjoy the occasional glass of wine, but in the past 6 months since we've been doing this, I had been exercising every day for 2 years, 6, 7 days a week. And I had a wreck, and then I caught COVID, and then I got sick after the COVID again. And there's so much, it's such a sense of ease to know that I can eat this way. And if I can't exercise, I can still, I mean, I do exercise, but I've had to slow down right now. It's just so nice to know that you still have some control or some locus of control, even if you're not, you know, I don't know what it'd be like for you, MiRanda, if you couldn't run for a while, if you had an injury, but you know,
I would be really sad.
Know that and I've been kind of sad, to be honest, but it's kind of freeing to know that it's not going to put me into a massive weight gain, right? Because Rena and I both probably have a little bit of a problem with exercise. We're both exercise a lot. So
along that line, Courtney, I think it would be helpful for you to share, if you're willing, about exercise and how that is impacting post-COVID syndrome, like what you learned about that.
Yeah, MiRanda, if you don't mind,
please do
share that. So I had started at 47. They found a congenital heart problem, and I had started exercising to lose weight more. I've always exercised. That's always been a thing for me, but I started doing more. Like I committed to 150 to 180 minutes a week and doing HIIT training. I was doing some strength training at the time. I'm a yoga therapist, so I've been teaching yoga for 20 years. So, you know, that's not new to me. I've worked in health clubs, fitness all my life, most of my adult life. And with post-COVID syndrome, my heart is enlarged and I have fluid in my lungs. And I did not know, with your heart enlarged, like I can't get my heart rate up right now. I'm not, you know, I did some research and it's really hard because like I do HIIT training. That's all about getting your heart rate. So I'm doing gentle yoga, and I've tried to walk a little bit on my treadmill, and I can't go very far right now. So, and I was an avid hiker, but I'm just doing little, like I'm backing off to doing something to keep moving, to keep my lymph fluid moving. But, you know, I'm just having to take it easy, but I'm not doing nothing. I will say, is that what you meant, Rena? Okay.
I think I saw the other day that you went on Instagram that you went hiking. We love to hike, and you're right. Like if that was taken away from me, it would be really hard, because I feel like you said you worked in, you know, health clubs for years. I feel like it becomes a part of you. It's just genuine passion of mine to work out, to run, to move my body in general. And I've done so much of different types of training in my life, from volleyball to basketball to soccer to college sports to bodybuilding to running, that like I feel like every time I lose interest in something, or I find something new that fits my lifestyle better, I become all about it. Like it's my biggest passion. Like I love to get up and run, and if that was taken away, I'd be like, well, what else can I do? And I would try to figure something out, because movement's so important to me. So I feel for you to, you know, have that probably same passion, but to also figure out, this is all new. How can I still move because I love it, but also like care for my body in a completely different way? So
yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but you can find the good, or you can focus on the bad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to focus on the good. And the next question is, what are your top tips for transitioning to whole food plant-based and maintaining that? So, did I get that one right? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is to not compare what you are doing to what someone else is doing, because your lifestyle, your job, your commitments, your children, your husband, everything is different than someone else. So you can take little tidbits from multiple people and see if it works for you, but don't get frustrated if what you're doing doesn't completely mirror what someone else is doing. You know what I mean? Like for some people, their meals might look different, or, you know, they might be more complex or even more simple, but I think it's slow steps, and also giving yourself permission to mess up. because everybody expects like, well, I've been watching this person on YouTube or Instagram for so long and they're so perfect at it. Like, and I keep messing up, like, I'm just not meant for this lifestyle. And it's like, no, you have to give yourself permission to slip up. It's okay. It's just committing to it each day and then figuring out what that day is going to look like. So that would be my advice, and the advice that I've given to people, because I have a lot of people that come to me and are like, I want to try this, but it's so hard. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be hard if you think of it one day at a time. You think, okay, all I have to do is get through Monday. And if I get through Monday, great. And if I make a mess up, that's okay. Like, I can now get through Tuesday. And I think just small little steps, and not expecting perfection, or like you have to copy someone else completely in order to be successful. Because I'm sure even the three of us, our journeys look completely different. Our day-to-days look different. What we eat kind of looks different. You know what I mean? So if we were to constantly compare starting out to each other, we would feel like failures. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I transitioned, I would call Rena and say, because I had done low carb prior. Yes, I had experience being vegetarian, but after doing low carb, it's very challenging to figure that back out because you get stuck in a cycle. And I would call Rena and say, I'm going out for Mexican food. What do I eat? You know, or I'm going to this place. Tell me what to eat. And so now, because I work in cardiac care and we promote a whole food plant-based diet, I tell our patients it's bumpy. Like, it is bumpy, and be okay with it being bumpy. And some days you're going to do great, and some days you're going to buy that thing that you thought was so good, and you're going to look on the back and it's going to have oil or egg in it, and you didn't know, and you just have to go on to the next day. You can't focus on the mistakes. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Rena and sit back and relax unless she asks me to join in. So thank you for answering all those questions, and she has a few more.
All right. And if you are watching, we have a few people on, and you have a question, you can drop it in the comments. I'm trying to keep an eye on those. And you can also go to the link in the comments that gives you the Zoom link where you can come inside the Zoom and talk to us. We love it when people do that. So that is an option. And back on what you guys were talking about just then, the other thing is that everybody has different tastes, right? So Courtney and I sometimes will take, like, I don't like mushrooms, but I know that I need some mushrooms in my life, you know, for the healing benefits of them. We've talked about G-bombs inside the group. And so I have some mushroom powder that I put like in the smoothie that I do. So, but Courtney loves mushrooms. So sometimes she'll have a recipe that has mushrooms, and I'll just figure something else to put in. You do have to be a little creative, but I think, like, it's really simple, people. It's like broccoli and potatoes, or a salad and air fried potatoes, or, I mean, like, have a potato at every single meal if you have to. Like,
But I also feel like a lot of times people are really scared because when you start introducing more veggies, when you come from a completely, you know, standard American diet, you're introducing more veggies, more beans, maybe more whole wheat pasta, brown rice, all of a sudden your stomach blows up and it gets really hard and your digestion hasn't caught up yet. And people are like, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Why isn't the person that I'm watching on YouTube, like, why isn't she saying that her stomach hurts after every meal, or that she's gassy, or, you know, all those things, because everything hasn't caught up. And I think that also kind of scares people a little bit in the beginning. And then they're very cautious about what they eat. And to just kind of add, because I thought of this, one of the tips I got from a friend of mine who's been whole food plant-based for 15 years, I think, she told me in the beginning, eat as many high fiber foods and beans as your body will allow to kind of like regulate it faster. And I've never had an issue with beans after the first couple of weeks. Like, I can eat as many beans as I want, as much, you know, high fiber foods. The only thing that really kind of messes with me still is broccoli, but like, I have no issues, because she just told me, just like, eat it at every meal, eat it for snacks, and your body will regulate faster because your digestion system will recognize it. It'll pour more water into it and it'll digest it faster, instead of it just like sitting there like a rock in your stomach. So I think that's a really good tip for people that are, you know, looking into the lifestyle, because I feel like beans are very feared for a lot of people. At least a lot of my subscribers and followers, they're like, oh, I like beans, but like, I try to only eat them once a week, but they're so good for you that you should have them every day.
Yeah. And I mean, I echo all of that. And I do think it's an important conversation, because people are going to, you know, you'll hear people say, well, I can't, that makes me sick when I eat that way. Well, your body is trying to detox too. off of the fat that has gotten stored in your cells, because it had to keep that to create more glucose, because you're not eating enough starch and sugar. Literally starving yourself of glucose and starch. And I literally was having this conversation with a friend yesterday about that. And she's starting to eat this way. And she texted me this morning. She said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's like 24 hours, but I already feel better. And I said, it's because your cells were literally, your pancreas was like, where's the glucose?
And I just need to add really quickly, because you were saying like your cells are starving. I have worked out for years. I have never sweated so much in my life than I do now, because my body actually has the means to sweat. I actually have water in my body from the carbs that I'm eating. And I think, my gosh, all those times that I was working out without sweating, I was probably so dehydrated, like putting myself into like a low pH level of dehydration because I didn't have anything to sweat. So that's something I hear a lot of from people. They're like, I'm sweating a lot more. I'm like, carbs hold water. So do starches. Like, you're filling your body up with those. It's good. It's good to sweat. So
yeah, this is how your body is learning to function in an optimal way. And I think that's a big disconnect. And people are so carb scared. I know, and I know we're getting a little off track, but this is a good conversation. Dr. Greger's new cookbook, companion book to How Not to Diet, the cookbook just came out. And he was talking about it. I think it sold 100,000 copies in the first week, but it is literally, Chef AJ was saying, it's literally the only one in the top sellers right now that's not talking about keto or something else completely extreme. So people have literally had the pants scared off of them of having carbs. And I was even guilty of that. Like, I was like, wait, even my husband was like, hold up, like, you're eating potatoes and rice again? I'm so confused, and like, he can't keep up. He's just like, what's happening? I mean, he's probably so relieved at this point that I haven't changed plans again, because I mean, I probably hadn't had like potatoes in like a year. And he will, I work full time and have a couple of side projects, and I've mentioned to you before that he's retired. So he does cook some of our meals, it's just funny because I love to cook, but it ends up being more convenient for him to cook sometimes. Just making sure you're having potatoes. Like, it's been amazing. And he has been on a giving up meat thing for a while. And I'm not going to get into that because I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But I do have a couple of comments. Tracy says, back on this conversation about, I guess, carbs and everything, she says, we are so trained that potatoes are bad. And it's so nice to watch MiRanda because she totally puts it in perspective.
Thank you. Absolutely. And hi, Tracy. Hello, Tracy. Tracy has been a wonderful follower and subscriber for forever. And yes, like we are taught basically on what the new trend is. Like you were saying with the books, keto is trendy right now. So we're all taught, and all the commercials and all the marketing we see is like, don't eat potatoes. And if you remember back in like the 90s, there was a different trend, 2000 there's a different trend, and there'll be a different trend in 10 years. It shouldn't be we eat based on trends. Do you know what I mean? Like, we should eat based on health, but it's whatever they can sell. And keto's in right now, so potatoes are bad.
It's the best. It's like the best kept secret, eating the way that we're eating now. And this is evidence-based, scientifically evidence-based research that's been done for 50 plus years. And it was just such a relief. And I know you've talked about this. It was such a relief to just be like, oh my gosh, I can eat this way the rest of my life. The hunt over. Now it's just and trying little things and seeing what I like best and getting to my maintenance point. And like, I remember Courtney calling me like maybe 30 days after we'd started eating really this way, and understand that she and I already had extremely healthy diets, very active, very informed on all of these kinds of things, we thought, and as much as we could be. And she said, I think I can do this forever. And I was like, I know. I mean, literally, it was like hitting the jackpot. And so anyway, I could go on and on about that. But she says, Tracy says, she says, totally feel you on the broccoli. I think I said.
It just has never sat well with me. And I had a lot of subscribers when I say like, I don't eat a lot of brown rice. I don't eat a lot of whole wheat pasta. I don't eat a lot of broccoli. Don't come at me. There's just some things our bodies just don't love. And some people have said like it's because brown rice is coated and, you know, that coating takes a little while and some people just don't digest it well. And I have an aunt who has Crohn's disease and she can't digest those things either. And so she'll tell me like, just don't eat them. If your body doesn't like them, be happy. You can eat beans and potatoes and rice of different kinds. But like, if your body is literally telling you like, I can't eat these things, like it's okay to say no. But I've been doing more broccoli lately. And I find that if I steam it and then roast it in the air fryer, I'm usually okay. But I only eat it like 2 or 3 times a week and then no more than that. So anyways.
I think that's a really important point because it doesn't make good logical sense for people to eat something that they don't like. I mean,
yeah.
out of all the Dr. Esselstyn greens, you know, there's some of them that aren't my favorites, but I try to rotate through the ones that I do like. And obviously if something doesn't sit well with you, you're not going to like it. And that's like a kind of like a, that's not good for you to be going, I know that I don't like this. My body doesn't like it, but I should be eating it. Like that doesn't make sense. There's so many plants in the plant.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's get to this next question because I'm super excited about it. We know from your channel that your husband is not fully plant-based. What tips can you give on how to handle this?
You force them. No. I do the cooking. I have the say. No. He's, as I've shared before, his mom grew up vegetarian. He grew up vegetarian and then he became a meat eater, I think at like 13 or 14. And he's not new, as most husbands aren't when their wives have been dieting, you know, trying different diets for many, many years. He's not new to me. Oh, I'm eating this way, so now I'm going to cook this way. And so when I did go vegan, the only thing he said was like, well, can you still cook things that I like? And it's taken time to slowly transition. But one of the things we found really fun with doing, you know, our extreme budget challenges and, you know, really cutting back on our groceries is finding foods that he really likes that I can make plant-based. And a couple nights ago, he was like, you know, I really like orange chicken. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make that. And it's going to be 100% plant-based. It's going to be whole food plant-based. And it's going to, you're just going to love it. And he loved it. We're actually having it again tonight for dinner because he loved it so much. And I know he really likes shepherd's pie. So it's like really easy to figure out. And he's not picky, thank goodness, but there are some things he just doesn't like. But it's become a fun challenge for the two of us, for him to be like, I really like this. I bet you can't make it taste good. And, you know, it doesn't always turn out. Like you guys see, you know, the perfect recipes versus the ones that don't turn out as well. But it's been really fun and challenging. I think if you have a partner or a spouse who's willing to try new things, I'm not making you be plant-based. I just want you to eat what I eat when we sit at the table, because that's more fun for me to, you know, have that interaction and be like, hey, do you like this meal? Do you not like this meal? And it's been really fun for us personally, you know, to figure out what he likes and what he doesn't like. And his favorite foods are probably the noodles with peanut sauce that I just made not too long ago, cauliflower, orange instead of orange chicken, orange cauliflower with rice. He loves rice, thank goodness. And the homemade bread I make, it literally doesn't even make it out of the oven before he's like, can I have some of that? Can I have a slice of that? So like I found what he likes. It's taken many, many months. It's taken like 6 or 7 months to figure out like what he likes, what he doesn't like, things that he will eat on repeat, you know, so.
That's also good. I mean, we kind of have a similar thing going on over here. And I was curious, Courtney, do you want to jump in on this at all?
Well, my husband had 5 bypasses and 2 stents, and he was an athlete. So he was a competitive athlete up until he was in his late 50s. So he's 62 now. And so he has more of a motivation, I feel like, you know, when we went this way. And so I do all the cooking. So I'm kind of like you. I get really upset at work when I have, especially women, that say, I can't eat this way because my husband won't do it. And I get like, you're going to die. Like, you may not die. And I'm going to be really blunt. I'm like, you might not die. You might have a stroke and he will have to take care of you. Or like, so this is life or death for a lot of the people I work with. It is life or death. And so, you know, I just basically tell him, I'm going to cook this way. If you want something else, you can go to the grocery store, you buy whatever you want. you can cook it, but I'm cooking this way for us. And it works. And occasionally we'll go out and he might get some chicken or something, and then he'll complain and whine about it for an hour. And he feels so bad. I feel so bad. So, you know, I don't really fight him on it. If he asks my opinion and we're out, because I don't want to nag him. I mean, he's 62 years old, you know, so but we have found a balance, and he is about 95% plant-based. And I think he would still try. He might eat peanut butter and jelly and cereal the rest of his life. But I think he would still try even if I wasn't cooking for him all the time.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I feel like we do have the balance of like, well, if I work, you have to figure it out on your own. And as of recently, he's been like, well, do you have anything left over? So it's kind of the same thing where like, I think they become so used to it that like, I've been making lots of meals with big leftovers. So that way, if I do work late, I'm like, yeah, this is in the fridge and you really like this, just, you know, heat up really quick. And it's kind of nice to, you know, have that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I can say, oh, sorry, Rena.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if my redneck cowboy, whose nickname is Cowboy, literally, he's a cowboy, if he can do it, I mean, anybody can do it. I mean, he's out there with chaps on right now, just got off the horse. So
I just so wish you could flash up a picture of that right now, because it really he's such a little badass. He really is. But he's like but he's such a sweetheart. You know, that reminded me of something that I kind of learned from my husband. He would just eat cheese and bread all day, every day. If you know, if I wasn't like, you need some fiber with your meal. But when we had this conversation about him at least trying to not have meat in the house, or eat meat at least here, you know, I was like, look, you can have rice. He's like, well, I love rice and beans. I can have that every day. And so I'm grateful. He liked veggies. He wouldn't go to the store and himself and make sure that he had like broccoli and cauliflower or whatever every day. I'm always like, I'm just going to put these on top of your chili or whatever. But he is a deer hunter, and Courtney's husband is too. I know it's crazy how people end up together, and recently he went, and really his thing is he likes being out in the woods. It's more about that. And he grew up doing that with his dad, and there's that sentimental thing. But anyway, recently he went to see his brothers and go hunting. And I was like, well, how are you going to handle food while you're gone? You know, like, what's your plan? And so I made him some beans to take with him, and he took some of his other stuff. And, you know, it's funny because nobody, like with me, I'm always the weird eater. I'm always the person who has something weird going on. It's either, you know, to my people who don't eat like I do, whether it's, oh, now she doesn't eat gluten, or blah, blah, bless her heart, now she's doing this. And so it's not unusual for conversations to be had around me and food when I'm with my friends or whatever, because I'm the weirdo. But he just didn't say anything to anyone. I mean, they had like meat one night and he just fixed his plate and didn't put it on there. And he had the beans that I had prepared and he shared them and they ate them. And he didn't say, these are vegan, you know, because then they would have probably been like, thought it was weird. But I just thought I was just like, sometimes he just makes things so simple.
Yeah.
Like, he went and did his thing, and he had some in his own cooler. And I said, well, what did they say? And he was like, oh, I didn't even say anything. I just, you know.
I feel like that though is like the difference between guys and girls. Like, girls are so like recognizing like something's different, something's changed, you've done something different. Like, whereas guys are like, wait, you ate beans? Like, I didn't even realize that you had beans and you didn't eat what you know what I mean? Like, that's just, I feel like so different because guys aren't really into the details like women are, but.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. And I just thought it was so funny because I was like, basically you went deer hunting and you ate vegetarian. I mean, it was just hilarious. Courtney's husband will do the same thing. He'll take his little pre-made salad out to the deer. It's just like, I love it. And I love that we're having these conversations because we're not the only ones that have, you know, that have somebody in their house or their family that's not eating this way. So I think it's good. I think we need to open up about it more and be more like, I used to be very sort of apologetic for the way I ate and, you know, like oh, I'm going to make my food and then I'll make y'all whatever, you can make you whatever. And I got tired of that. I was like, I
Mhm.
want to be at the table with sometimes some of the same food at least. So
Mhm.
it's been really
And it's funny that you said that, like how you always feel apologetic for, this entire year, the world's been so different because of COVID and there's no travel and all these things. So I haven't seen my family in so long. Like I went vegan and then didn't see them. So that's, weird and strange and new. And we had my sister and her family come out. She has two little boys in August, and they came for like 10 days. It was wonderful. And I instantly felt like, oh, I'm going to have to like figure out meals that they're all going to want to eat and I'm going to want to eat. And literally my sister and I sat down the first night, and she was like, she's very good at meal planning. Like a lot of my meal planning ideas and strategies come from her because she's just really amazing at it. And she was putting together meals, and she never once asked me like, what do you want or anything. And then I saw her notepad and I looked at them and I was like, you literally created a meal plan based on like, there's a starch and a veggie in everything, and you can make everything separate. And she was like, well, because I don't want you to feel like you have to make your own food. And it was so special to me because for like, I didn't have to apologize. Do you know what I mean? Like I had that immediate feeling of like, oh, all week when they're here, I'm going to have to say, oh, I'm going to eat this, or I'm going to make this. Like, don't worry about me. Like, just do, make food for everybody else. And I was like, wow, that was so thoughtful. And she was like, well, yeah. So we did like fajita bowls, and she made a big pot of rice and peppers and stuff. And the reason I say like she did is because she loves to cook more than I do. Like I love to cook, but she also just like, that's one of her sister qualities is she likes to step in when she visits and like take over my kitchen. And I'm fine with that. But she just made so many different meals that like I was able to eat and other people would enjoy. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just really awesome. It just felt like for me being newly whole food plant-based and newly vegan, I didn't have to apologize. And that first experience socially really made me think like, why should I apologize? Someone who's gluten-free shouldn't have to apologize because they don't eat gluten. Someone who might not eat beef should never have to apologize because they choose not to eat beef. Someone who doesn't like brown rice shouldn't have to say, oh, I don't like that. Like we should just accept that, it's okay. We can eat however we want to eat. We don't have to apologize for it.
I think it's a really important conversation because me having been become vegetarian when I was like 19, and then when I was having my daughter, it was still like, she was born in 93. It was early 90s, and I was a vegetarian, and it was, there was all this drama around, oh, you can't be vegetarian while you're pregnant. And then my doctor was like, oh, you'll be fine. And then they convinced me not to breastfeed because she went, and like, I just didn't have the bandwidth at the time to do all the research to see. I mean, I was in graduate school and then the law school. And I look back at that and think, gosh, why I should have asked more questions. But so I think I came from that place of like, let me just take care of myself. And, that way I don't have to burden anybody. And now I'm just like, why did I do that though? I think it's sometimes just a female thing of like not wanting to be a bother or not wanting to, because like last time my sister was here, she doesn't eat like I do, but she doesn't like spicy stuff, but she's not really that picky. And another friend of mine, she just kind of does this thing where she's like, this is what we're eating tonight, And so I told her, I was like, well, I'm going to make this pasta tonight, and that's what we're having. And it was fine. Like, yeah. I think the dialogue that goes on in my inner dialogue sometimes it's just not right. I just dramatize it in my head because I don't know where that expectation comes from, but it's good to know that, we can have these conversations. And I'm so glad for you that you got to have your first experience to be really positive. I mean, yeah. Pretty much when I go to somewhere, especially like other family, my sister lives in Alabama, and they eat very Southern, and I'm sure because everyone's used to me taking care of myself, it's never a question of like, well, what could we have here for you, or what could I pick up for you at the grocery store? And I'm not blaming them on that. I kind of set it up that way. I literally had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich one time at Thanksgiving there. I was just like, I throw this together, it's fine. Like, but now I see like a lot of that was my fault because I was the one kind of like, oh, I'm the weirdo. So, and I mean, people are actually getting well from lots of diseases from eating this way, and they have been for decades. Really, I'm done apologizing.
Yep.
I don't want to walk in and preach about it with people, but if people genuinely want to know, then I say, go watch Miranda's channel because she has lots of great tips.
I think the biggest thing is if you ever try to go out to eat, I think that also comes into effect where you're just like, you freeze up and you're like, oh no, like I have to ask all these questions and inconvenience someone else when you're like, well, I'm the one sitting here paying for this food. I'm not inconveniencing anybody as a customer. And I think that mindset as a whole should be something we bring into our entire life is like, well, I'm not going to inconvenience you. And I don't want you to feel inconvenienced, to have myself be inconvenienced. So I think we just need to, as a whole, just be like, this is how I choose to do it. I have the confidence to speak up and to not apologize for how I choose to eat. So if I can pass it on to anybody, just have the confidence in yourself to know, like, people love you beyond what you eat. They don't want you to feel bad because you feel inconvenienced, towards them. They don't, if you think about all your close friends and colleagues and individuals in your life, if they ever felt like, oh, you felt bad for how you ate in front of me or for not eating, they would feel bad. Do you know what I mean? Like in reverse, if it was the exact opposite, if your sister was, whole food plant-based and you weren't, and she felt like she was inconveniencing you, you would feel bad. So she would be like, you know what I mean? So
I would never
just have to stop being sorry.
Exactly. Stop apologizing. So that's been really kind of good for me to learn through this whole process. There's, we all have so many emotional things around eating, and I know we kind of got like way off the list. So I'll venture back over here and see what else we have. But this has been such a good conversation. I think it's really important. What about cravings? Did you deal with any cravings, and how?
I did. And I think this is something else that's not talked about too much. Like we hear like, oh, once you start eating these foods, you're going to feel so amazing and so good. But what they don't talk about is that the foods you were eating were super addictive and you started to have these insane cravings. And you're like, why am I craving this food? I thought I was supposed to feel amazing eating, whole food plant-based. Why am I all of a sudden craving Jell-O when I haven't eaten Jell-O in 20 years? Do you know what I mean? Like you have these weird cravings. That was a lot in the beginning. Now I literally just love chocolate, dark chocolate every so often, as probably most of us do. And so that's like the only craving I really actually have. Everything else I'm usually good with. I enjoy all types of foods. I like to go out for sushi or drinks or have like a vegan dessert here or there, but I can have a little bit and be done. But in the beginning, especially, like I had just weird cravings for like the first 2 months where I was just like, why would I be craving that? Because I think my body was missing something. And I was finding that like the nutrients I was bringing into my body were like fixing that, but also the addictive properties of removing, high amounts of sodium and high amounts of MSG and all those things. Your body reacts and it's like, oh, I want those back. Give me those back. And then you have these weird cravings, just very weird cravings. So that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And I think, having something when you feel like, oh, I want this thing, if you can figure out if it's, I don't know if this works for you, but if I'm craving something crunchy, if I can find a replacement of something that's crunchy, if I can find, like, I like baby carrots, then I call it like my little nibbly foods. Like I'll just go get a little nibble of something and then it usually goes away. Or if I'm craving, so if you can have, I think that can be helpful to people because it's really real. I didn't experience that as much with this because I was already eating pretty healthy. The combination of food. And Courtney, did you have something you wanted to add on that?
When I was switching over, kind of like Miranda said, I used some of the substitutions, like some of the vegan cheeses and things like that. And that helped. But the more I learned and the more on a cerebral level that I understood, I didn't want those things. So now, like if I'm craving something sweet, like today, I just bought a big bowl of cherries and berries and ate that. And once, if you're craving something sweet or salty, once you get something healthy that is sweet or salty, you're full and the craving goes away. I think sometimes we overcomplicate cravings, like
I agree.
Eat something and it'll go away. So if I step out of frame, I'm turning the heat up.
Oh, okay. Along this line, Charity says, I love this way of eating. I do miss bread and I do enjoy dessert every day, which is now gone. So I don't know, Charity, if you're still here, because that was a little bit ago, I'd love to have you come click the Zoom link and come in and chat with us about this. Because I mean, I don't know why you're not eating bread at all. You could enlighten me. And also, you don't have to not have dessert. Like, have you can have a little bit. I mean, maybe not all day, all the time, every day, but you can have healthy desserts. I mean, MiRanda has some amazing on her channel. What's your favorite dessert that you like to make that's compliant with this way of eating?
Oh man. I have a mug cake I really like because it's chocolate. I just like chocolate. I'm just being real. I just really love chocolate. I make a mug cake and then I've been putting like a drizzled almond butter, like the powdered almond butter mixed with maybe a little bit of water or soy milk drizzled over the top. And that warm to me at night is like the best thing. Like after a long work day to have this like warm chocolate cake, like, and it's just banana, cocoa powder, like a little bit of almond milk, like, and you mix up and you put it in the microwave. It's done in like 90 seconds. It's so good. And I also, make a lot of the 3-ingredient cookies, but I just try to find different variations so I don't get bored with them. I like blueberry lemon or carrot cake or cinnamon raisin. And those are also something that like, because I do like to have something sweet after I have a meal. And I feel like that is just the perfect thing because it's dense, it's chewy, it's sweet, but your sweet cravings are different. I feel like when you kind of remove like a lot of sugars from your diet. So, and bread, I mean, sky's the limit with bread. I also, when I started looking into the starch solution, I was confused either way you should have bread or not have bread. But I was like, well, yeah, you can have bread. You just have to have low fat bread, you know, and I make homemade bread all the time because we love it. But you could also eat like the Dave's Killer bread or Ezekiel bread if you like denser breads versus just white breads. You can make homemade whole wheat bread. You can make sourdough. There's so many options. So, yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, because some of our people, I don't know if they've had a chance to check out your channel, and I'm not sure who all's on here, but you have recipes that are great for, you have that bread recipe. Now, my husband and I are trying to perfect a gluten-free version of it, but your recipes on those things are great. And now I want to see your mug cake recipe. Is there a video on this one?
I think so. I'll have to find it and send it to you. It's probably a really old one. But it's so easy. Just if you can't,
I'll drop it here.
okay. Because I tried it. I've been sharing a lot of things that have alternatives to bananas because I never knew so many people were allergic to bananas. So if you can't have bananas, don't be fearful. You could use applesauce or pumpkin. You don't taste it if you have a really good flavored cocoa. And then like I'll find it and I'll send it to you so that way everybody can enjoy it. Because again, like I feel like we all love chocolate cake. So if you can have a healthy chocolate cake, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds amazing to me, and especially to have it warm.
Yeah.
All right. And what about Christmas? Are you cooking anything? Oh, does he want to say hey? Does he want to say hello? Oh,
You
I
can
love
come
to
say hi. I like hearing the door open. I'm going like,
come in.
you have to get him come sit right here. Say hi really fast.
We feel like we know you. We're so glad.
He's so
Hi.
famous. What am I making for Christmas? I have probably bread. That is the number one thing. Is I have this cinnamon bread that he loves that he would just eat as an entire meal. And I was actually
We need that one.
I was just thinking today what I was going to make, and we really like Chinese food, so I was going to try to make some kind of like a vegan egg roll or spring roll, and then some kind of a noodle dish, just because that's what we like. And I know that doesn't really go with bread, but the bread is kind of like the dessert. I feel like bread goes with everything in my mind, though. Like, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack. I was just seeing where she was. But
No, I'm so glad
hi.
if you have any,
Hi,
you know,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
yeah, and if you have anything that you want to, any wisdom that you can share with us to share with our husbands, Courtney's husband is pretty much more on plan than my husband. He has given up meat, at least at home.
Mhm.
But any like nuggets of wisdom you would want to share? I love that you're so open to trying things, and seeing you enjoy things in the videos is really fun.
Any nuggets of wisdom?
Be open to being forced.
tell them it raises their testosterone or something. I don't know. Like, not. I mean, I'm kind of a trash can, so whatever she makes, I just eat. And
I didn't say
I
this
don't
earlier,
care.
but I do really think that like the financial aspect is also a driven force. Like I said, like we've really cut back on our groceries to $30 a week, which is not very much. And so I think like the financial aspect also ties in with it. Whereas like, well, we can pay off our personal debt so much faster if he gets on board with eating plant-based. And I think that is also, it's a big motivator.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that because we are very driven to get our debt out of our way. So it does make it a lot easier to not spend money out to eat or meat's expensive. So even though I'm not vegan, it is very expensive. And so with these goals that we have in mind, we kind of keep that in perspective. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Courtney, did you want to ask him anything? I know you love the financial conversations.
I'm curious, have y'all found like the financial independence movement, Dave Ramsey, like are y'all looking at anything? Because like I'm a geek on all of it. Like I follow the financial independence movement,
So
Dave Ramsey.
He does all of our finances. And I would say we were kind of doing a little bit of Dave Ramsey, but we're kind of making it work for our lifestyle. Like we're not doing the complete program A to Z, but the snowball effect has been huge for us. That's been the biggest thing. And also his aspects of saying, okay, where can you cut out things in your life that you don't need right now or if ever? Big thing was us for groceries or going out to eat, because I've shared before, like we would spend $100 to $150 or $200 a week in groceries, but then we'd be going out to eat 2 or 3 times. And going out to eat is just not the food expense, but if you sit down at a restaurant, it's a tip, it's all those things. But then also even for us, like personally, we started cutting back. We live in a city where there's a lot of things to do. We started cutting back and saying, okay, well, instead of going to a movie where movie theaters are closed right now, or going to a casino, like let's find something that we can do for $10 tonight. Like let's go buy, a vegan dessert or a movie, and then that will be our date night. So it's been like, we've taken a lot of his tips and used them, but we're not doing the program, I would say, from like A to Z.
Sure. And I'll add to that. I feel like in the past, we've made a lot of financial mistakes. Like we've owned businesses before. And so we've had that money coming in and we've been, for lack of a better word, just stupid with money. Mm-hmm. And so I think that comes with experience that we just don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to make those same mistakes twice. We have the opportunity. We're blessed with good jobs now where we're bringing good amount in. So we don't want to just waste that on the stupidity that we've done. I mean, it's nice to experience things. Everybody's going to have that, in their head, like I want to experience this, I want to experience that. But since we've made all those mistakes in the past, we know that stuff's still going to be out there in the future. It can wait. And so right now we're just driven to get this debt out of the way so it can open up a lot more free money, a lot more freedom, which I think is what everybody really just wants, is that just freedom to make your own decisions and control your life more. And you can't do that if you always have the money going out towards debt. So, So that's all. It's just, it's experience. It's the, I don't know, just it's the want for more personal free time to not always have to work so much. So,
yeah. Are y'all followers of the FIRE movement? Are you familiar with the FIRE movement?
No.
I just opened up your world. I'm just
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah.
So don't worry if you don't want to retire early. Just follow the principles. I mean, I discovered it when I was 48. I was a big Dave Ramsey person, and I don't want to hijack our channel, but it's there's a movie called the FIRE movie. So if you have Netflix, you can watch it on there. Mr. Money Mustache, all of those, and it all goes in line with what we're doing here with our food as well. But it will keep you motivated. And I've used those principles to recover. My husband and I were both divorced after long marriages. We have 6 kids, so you can imagine. Wow. So it completely transformed, and we have businesses as well. It completely transformed our lives from being broke to being very comfortable. And so check out the FIRE movement. just Google around a little bit and have some fun.
And I will say,
Definitely will.
I'll say too that Courtney, you know, talked to me about Dave Ramsey for a number of years before I finally like got, you know, really zoned in on that. And I'm kind of like you, MiRanda, like I was doing this kind of hybrid, and I'm still working on some of that. But honestly, if pretty much when I have questions, I just ask Courtney. but I do like listening to, you know, it's like front of mind when you're listening to the podcast or whatever, and you just take whatever works for you and leave whatever doesn't. But when all of this stuff was going on with my job, I think I paid off, like, I don't know, what was it, Courtney? Like $30,000 during the time that it was a lot during the time that my job was, my company that I worked for at the time was a little bit all over the place, and we weren't really sure what was happening. And then COVID happened and things were winding down pretty quickly. And that process was going on for several years. And I had other income streams, so I was trying to maximize those. But at the same time, with Courtney's help I didn't do the full program either, but I had a lot of resources toward that. And I got myself in a position so that when this finally happened and my company closed, that I was okay. You know, I made that transition. Like I said, I bought a house, renovated a house during this process. It wasn't like I had money to throw around everywhere, but I was strategic with it. And it felt really good to just kind of be able to navigate that with ease because I was prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is a really important conversation, and it does go with food, because when we misspend money, we misuse food, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nutrition, and that could go to exercise as well, lack of or movement or anything like that. But I'm really glad that we're having that conversation. A lot of people within our group particularly are also in Frugal Friends, which is one of Courtney's groups. So I'm sure that they are loving this. I know everybody was excited about it, and we still have a few people on, so the people are hanging in there. Well, I'm so glad and feel free to hang out with us the rest of the time.
No, I wanted to say hi. Like I said, I didn't want to hijack the conversation.
I love that you came on. That's so cool.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Have fun.
Love you. See you a little bit.
Nice to meet you both.
Don't go far. We may have more questions.
I'll call him back.
Yeah, just shoot me a yell.
Okay, we just have a couple more. We'll go. What are your favorite kitchen gadgets? People always want to.
I couldn't live without my Instant Pot or my air fryer, and for so long I was against buying both of them. I was like, I don't need any more kitchen appliances. I have a stovetop. I have an oven. You people are all wrong. You're crazy. And then I got them, and I was like, wow, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth now and say I should have gotten them years ago, because I use them every day. Every day. I mean, it sounds so silly, but if you just want perfect rice, get a inexpensive Instant Pot and make perfect rice. Don't make it on the stove. It always burns. The water ratio is always wrong. Like, don't even bother making it on the stove. It takes too long. It takes an hour to make rice on the stove. It's ridiculous. You'll always have perfect rice. Get an Instant Pot. And the air fryer, we originally got one because we used to live in Ohio. We lived there for 12 years. And so you turn your oven on because it's cold and it's cozy. And we got here, and my aunt who lives in LA was like, you're not going to ever turn your oven on. And if you do, you're going to be sweating to death. And so I remember, I think we moved here in July. And I used my oven once or twice when we first got here. And I remember it was so hot in our house, even with air conditioner, everything. I was like, we're going to die if we don't get an air fryer. So we got a tiered air fryer that reacts as a conventional oven. And it's been the best purchase ever. And even though I live in the desert and everybody else might not, it's so quick and so convenient that with like this lifestyle, you don't have an excuse to not eat, how you want to eat, because the food is so fast and it always tastes so good.
And I feel like you can get an air fryer really affordably these days. Yeah. And Courtney can tell you, I kept telling her, I was like, eating this way is so much easier when you have an air fryer. And I kept telling her, she is very frugal. And I tend to be more the type of like, this is going to add, like I'm getting the air fryer, I'm getting the Instant Pot, whatever. I need to be more like Courtney. But anyway, I just was so adamant about it that I finally just bought her one and shipped it to her.
Oh. But literally, You are investing. You are investing. And I have told people, like, if you do Christmas gifts, say, hey, could you buy me an air fryer or put $20 towards an air fryer or whatever, because it does make your life so much more convenient. And in the long run, like, it does save on electricity for your oven. And like, we have a gas oven, so we don't have to pay for that because it comes with our rent, but that is an added expense. And so, like, yes, you can get a cheap air fryer. I think like they go on sale for like 30 or $40 sometimes. And it's like, it is a little bit of an investment. And I know for a lot of people, even me, I was like, I have an oven, I don't need that. But it takes almost an hour to make the potatoes that I like in the oven compared to 12 to 14 minutes in the air fryer. Time is also money. Like, I don't want to wait 40 minutes for my food.
Well, yeah, I mean, that time is a commodity, right? And also I knew that she kind of had enough, she had all the kitchen things that she had room for. So I strategically made sure I got one that she could leave on the counter if she wanted to. So, because that was one of the reasons that she hadn't gotten one. Because I was like, I just don't know where I would put
use it every day. I love it so much. I use it every day. And I have a rice cooker that's a little Instant Pot ideally that I use. Yeah.
Well, I'm so obsessed with air fryers that I have 3 of them. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I have 3. They all do something completely different. Because I have the attachment to my Instant Pot that is an air fryer. It was, and then I have my tier one, and then I just was gifted one that is also wonderful. It has like a rotating arm in it, so it spins your fries differently. So I'm not embarrassed to say, like, I love them so much that I own 3 of them. So
I have room for another one. I was watching your one of your videos where you were using your tier air fryer, and I meant to ask you about it because I was like, that looks, but I sort of I have to stop myself from buying things right now. I got a little carried away when we renovated this house, and I gave myself the excuse of, I want everything to look blah, blah, blah. So I probably will get another one eventually because I love the idea. I know it was the cauliflower. It was the orange cauliflower you were doing because I thought, man, that would be really good if we had a tier one like that.
Yeah.
So.
We found it really easy when we had company. I mean, obviously we haven't had that much company, but when we had people here, it was really nice because you can put a lot in it. One thing with smaller air fryers is it's kind of only 1 or 2 servings, whether you're hosting a party or whatever, but with the tier one, it's nice. I did make my cookies in it a lot over the summer because my 3-ingredient cookies, I love those, but I won't turn my oven on because it's just way too freaking hot. When it's already 115 degrees out, you're not going to turn on your oven. Your house is never going to cool. And we have a husky German Shepherd mix who gets super overheated. So I put, I have that tier air fryer so I can put my cookies in there or my bars or whatever. So I highly recommend, if you're going to get one and you have a big family and you're making a bunch of air fried potatoes, get one that's big enough to, be convenient for everybody. So there you go.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much, MiRanda, for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been so nice. Thank you so much.
We may have you back eventually. It's been more fun than a box of kittens. All right. See y'all soon.
See ya.